Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Shalom. I'm Shosh Bedrosian from the National Public Diplomacy Directorate. I'll be taking a few questions after a couple of brief points to share with you today. Just make sure you put your questions in the chat of the Zoom with your name and your outlet. Today is Monday, December 8th, and it has been 794 days since Hamas slaughtered our southern communities and kidnapped our people. It was a choice Hamas made to launch a war on the people of Israel on October 7th, and we will never forget the atrocities they committed on that horrific day. Allow me to share with you some of the significant points the Prime Minister has said in the last few days. He said we are almost finished with phase 1 of the ceasefire plan, which has been a goal the Prime Minister said at the beginning of the war, to get back all of our hostages. It is fair to say that many doubted the Prime Minister could even accomplish something like this back when our people were first taken hostage by Hamas. And right now, we have one hostage left in captivity, which we know Hamas can find. Master Sergeant Ron Gavili is still being held in Gaza, and he must be brought home for a proper, dignified burial. Prime Minister Netanyahu is frequently in touch with his family and is determined to help them close this horrific, this painful 2-year circle they have been forced into. The Prime Minister said that once phase 1 is completed, phase 2 will begin, which he noted comes with equal difficulty. Now, phase 2 will disarm Hamas and demilitarize Gaza, a crucial step outlined in the 20-point plan that Israel remains committed to. The Prime Minister has made it very, very clear. This phase of the plan can happen either the easy way or it can happen the hard way. But there will be an end to Hamas's rule inside of the Gaza Strip and a different future for the Palestinian people and the future of security for the State of Israel as well. Israel will continue to uphold our side of the ceasefire as Hamas continues to violate it on a daily basis. A ceasefire has been in place for 2 months now, but terrorists continue to attack our soldiers and cross the yellow line into the IDF-controlled area inside of the Gaza Strip. Israel will continue to act in self-defense against these terrorists. I can share with you that the Prime Minister will meet with President Trump on Monday, December 29th. They will discuss the future steps and phases and the international stabilization force of the ceasefire plan. Let's remember how this ceasefire plan came to be. With the military pressure Prime Minister Netanyahu put on Hamas while our troops entered their stronghold of Gaza City and the diplomatic pressure President Trump put on Hamas. This is why we are here. We cannot forget how we got here. The third phase of this plan will be focused on the de-radicalization of the Gaza Strip. It's something the Prime Minister discussed in detail with the German Chancellor on Sunday in their highly successful and positive meeting here in Jerusalem. Now, the two world leaders had an open and honest conversation about the close cooperation Germany and Israel have together. In particular, the Arrow 3 missile defense system being deployed in Germany. In fact, it is more than just a defense system. It declares that Israel's expertise protects Europe as well. Now, despite international turbulence, Israel continues to uphold these types of crucial relationships. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor also discussed the defense cooperation between our two countries and the advanced economies both countries also continue to maintain. Now, next, I can share with you that Prime Minister Netanyahu met this afternoon with the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, here in Jerusalem. Their meeting was also attended by the Deputy National Security Council Chief and the Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Dani Danon, and U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Israel thanked the United States for their strong and steadfast alliance and partnership. The relationship is stronger than ever and grounded in shared values and an uncompromising pursuit of both security and peace for our countries and for the entire free world. Both sides committed to enhancing their collaboration at the United Nations to maximize their effectiveness, and the Israeli team shared with Ambassador Waltz that Israel did not appreciate the latest comments made by Ambassador Tom Barrack in Doha yesterday. I'll now take a few questions. Okay, first question from Joel Pollack from California Post. Does the Prime Minister have a comment about last week's anti-Semitic and violent protest against a synagogue in Los Angeles last week? Second question is, Tucker Carlson claimed in Doha this weekend that Israel asked Qatar to host Hamas, so it was hypocritical for Israel to attack Hamas in Qatar. He made a number of other provocative statements. Does Israel have any comment on this? So in terms of these LA protests that you mentioned, I can share with you that Israel views that the violence exhibited outside of the temple in LA, the synagogue, as another manifestation of anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head. Also, we shouldn't get confused. There are not simply assaults on Israel-oriented event. It is yet another assault at the site of a Jewish house of worship, and this is a shameful act, of course, that must be rejected across the board. In terms of your question in regards to Qatar, I just want to remind everyone that after October 7th, Hamas wasn't hiding inside of Doha, Qatar. They were simply living. They were being hosted in Doha in 5-star resorts and luxurious villas as well. Qatar gave them a sanctuary there. And, of course, like I said, just reiterates my statement on that, Joel. Adam Parsons from Sky News, what is the government's reaction to the decision by Israeli officials to raid the headquarters of UNRWA today, despite the terms of the UN Charter, stating that the building is inviolable? Can you confirm that the Israeli government continues to respect both the word and spirit of the United Nations agreements? I will simply put it, Adam, I will probably have you ask UNRWA if they will also respect Israel and not have Hamas completely infiltrated inside of them and what they claim to be doing as well. We know UNRWA has been a stain on the United Nations, and it was established back in the day to actually only operate for 18 months. It's now existed for more than 75 years. And instead of solving a temporary issue, it's perpetuated the problem. And now the growing number of refugee status of Palestinians is extremely high. Remember, the number of Palestinian refugees went from 700,000 in 1950 to 5.5 million people today. UNRWA has proven its enormous failures, and it's time for it to be dismantled, and it's time for the world to recognize that, including journalists as well. UNRWA continues to claim there's also not enough humanitarian aid going inside of the Gaza Strip. If you look at the facts, there are hundreds of trucks entering Gaza on a daily basis. There are thousands of trucks entering Gaza on a weekly basis. The aid is entering Gaza freely and without the help from UN agencies that terrorists have embedded themselves into. Like I said, these trucks are entering weekly, daily. However, organizations without terror operatives have stepped up and have actually helped overtaken UNRWA's operations and are sending in thousands of trucks in coordination with Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear that UNRWA is not part of the solution. They are part of the problem. There is a direct connection between UNRWA and Hamas inside of the Gaza Strip, with nearly every terrorist that crossed into Israeli territory to commit genocidal acts against our people on October 7th were, in fact, an UNRWA school graduate. Listen to what I just said. Nearly every single terrorist that crossed the border on October 7th was an UNRWA school graduate. Not only that, Israeli intelligence identified that at least 18 UNRWA employees actively participated in the October 7th massacre. Also, our findings, our intelligence points to the fact that 12% of UNRWA employees in Gaza are members of Hamas or other terror factions and designated terror organizations as well. I also want to continue to tell our journalists specifically about these employees of UNRWA who decided to cross our border on October 7th and invade our communities. One of them was a social worker. We have it on surveillance video of an UNRWA social worker picking up a limpless, lifeless body of one of our then hostages at the time, Jonathan Samarano, and bringing him into, dragging him into a car on Kibbutz Be'eri, bringing him into Gaza. An UNRWA social worker, this is a person who works with this apparent refugee organization, a social worker picking up a dead body and then bringing it into Gaza to be held as a hostage for almost 2 years? Let's talk about that. And also, I expect journalists to report on UNRWA, and specifically the Hamas infiltration as well. Okay, so this is from Matthew Duran from ABC Australia. Can the Israeli government comment on reports that anti-Hamas militia members are surrendering to Hamas in Gaza following the killing of Yasser Abu Shabab, the leader of the Israeli-backed Popular Forces? Is the Israeli government concerned this could further destabilize Gaza and force Israel to rethink its policy of supporting these groups? We've answered these questions in the past. Can you confirm Israeli support for the Popular Forces? Just answer that question, Steve. Japanese TV is Prime Minister Netanyahu will meet with Egyptian President Sisi in the United States. I can't comment on his schedule at this point in time, but I shared with you the information that I could. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I appreciate your time. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us.